probably the Cowboys because of what that defense could be. But even that I feel like is a pretty long shot.
Yeah, I was thinking the Vikings. I think you and I are both higher on them than Vegas is for sure. I don't know. I mean, I get where you're coming from with the safe choice being the Cowboys outside of those two teams. And I feel like the Cowboys have not been, I can't believe I'm saying this, not been talked about enough as far as a potential contender to win that conference. And,
I know.
it's going to be difficult to get, past the Eagles and what they do, especially considering that you're playing them twice in that division. Um, it's shocking to me that I'm actually saying I feel like the Cowboys aren't being discussed enough, because usually they're talked about way too often. I do think that defensively that can propel them to have a lot of success, and you're probably going to see a different look as far as their offense is concerned with Kellen Moore gone. I don't know. I mean, that could be a team that could surprise a lot of people. I still don't think they win the division, but
I just don't have any faith in Mike McCarthy. I mean,
they could easily be the highest wild card. And, you could find a way to, and I think that this would make a lot of sense to have them in the NFC Championship game.
Yeah. Look, I'm a Cowboys fan. I just don't have any faith in Mike McCarthy. I don't. I do have faith in that defense though, and Dan Quinn, and that's sort of what you hang your hat on. I don't. I'm not like Dak's not the end of the world. Dak had a bad year last year, so if he came back and was better, and I don't know about Brandon Cooks, but come on, we'll see. I don't. But the Eagles and the Eagles and the Niners, no. Okay, let's talk about the NFC because this is where it will get more interesting. The question becomes, Tommy, for us right here, smack in the middle of Chiefs Kingdom, is can the Chiefs get to the Super Bowl? I think yes. I'm putting the Chiefs back in. Yeah, I know that that's but it's not boring because it never happens, right? We don't get repeat Super Bowls. It's almost a hot take to have a repeat, even though it's a repeat. Doesn't that feel a little bit weird? So let's talk about the Chiefs a little bit, Tommy, and we'll see on Travis Kelce. Certainly, we don't think that's anything like long term, right? Like we don't think that that Travis Kelce is going to be out for an extended period of time. So we'll assume Kelce's there. It really, for me, like in this wild and crazy AFC. Are the Chiefs good enough? I'll say yes. I think that the Chiefs are sneaking up with something offensively. Last year they snuck up and we knew what it was going to be, right? They had to replace Tyreek Hill. I think they're doing it again. Like, I think we're going to see, and I don't know how to even like quantify this. Is it, 4 or 5 different receivers with like 800 yards? I just think that the way they're going to spread the ball around is going to be really, really interesting because they have all these different weapons. I think they're going to throw it more than they have. Like, I think this will, like, if we look back at this year, it'll be the year of Patrick Mahomes' most pass attempts. I think it's something's happening here with the offense, and we're going to look at it and be like, see, they were doing this. They were planning for this. So I think they can get there. The Chris Jones factor is big. But at some point, Tommy, Chris Jones is going to play for the Chiefs this year, or he won't. Like, he has to. So by the postseason, right, they'll have Chris Jones. I think the Chiefs can do it. But like we said earlier, I think there are 9 teams in the AFC that could do it this year. So it's going to be tough. And it amplifies early games like this against the Lions and the Kelce injury. Like, home field's going to matter. All this stuff matters. How many wins is it going to take to secure home field this year? Is anybody in the AFC capable of winning 15 games this year? I mean, it's going to be tough.
Well, it's that battle of attrition. Like, we mentioned a few minutes ago. I have a really, really hard time thinking that the Chiefs are going to be back in the Super Bowl this year. That they very well could be. I mean, literally, they've got the talent to do so. And,
they're the highest odds and all that.
They're the defending champions, right? And so, like, betting against them is going to be difficult to do. But, man, I like the Bengals. And I've always liked the Bengals. And, assuming that Joe Burrow is fully healthy to start the season, and I think that he will be trending to play in week 1. All the weapons they have. This was really difficult for me to write down. I've got the Bengals to win the AFC. I think we're going to see the Bengals and the Eagles in the Super Bowl.
At some point, over careers, right? Don't you feel like Burrow is the kind of quarterback that's going to win a Super Bowl in his career, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Justin Herbert feels like a quarterback that's going to win a Super Bowl in his career. Probably even Josh Allen. Like at some point, that's what's crazy about this conference. Is you have all of these, amazing quarterbacks in amazing situations. And we know this, right? It's not like the Chiefs win this thing every year. We don't get repeat champions for a
Right.
reason. So it's not one of those Chiefs of the field kind of a things. I totally
Yeah.
could see the Bengals doing it. I've been on this Bengals team for 3 years now. I love the Bengals. I think they're great. It's just for me, I look at it and say, okay, is the Chiefs offense going to be better or worse than it was a year ago? It's pretty hard for me to imagine, unless this Kelsey thing is something significant, that it's not better, right? Because I like the receivers more. I think they know what they have in the backfield, and the line is essentially the same. I can't see a path for the offense to not be better. Will the defense be as good or better? That comes down to the draft a little bit. I love their secondary. When was the last time we loved the Chiefs secondary? We feel good about the Chiefs secondary this year. It's can they survive without Chris Jones for however long that's going to be? And does that impact them from potentially having home field? But their division's going to be tough. I love it. Okay, so you've got Bengals, Eagles. I've got Chiefs, Eagles. Well, that Super Bowl last year, I'll go first here. The Super Bowl last year doesn't give me confidence. I'm still going to give the Chiefs the nod. I've got Chiefs over Eagles again. At some point, we're getting a repeat champion. Like it's going to happen. I don't feel good about it. Like there's not a ton of confidence there, but I'll take the Chiefs over the Eagles in another, rematch type Super Bowl. We haven't seen those in forever either in the NFL. That's what I'll take though. I'll take Chiefs over Eagles, and we'll fully admit that it's just a little too hard for me to pick the Eagles as a Super Bowl champion here. So there may be a little personal bias in there, but I'll still take the Chiefs.
Yeah, and I just had a really hard time, and I feel like it would be weird if you and I both had the same Super Bowl pick and also the exact same teams as a year ago. So I had to go a little bit different. I think the Bengals can very easily make it to
Oh,
the
sure.
Super Bowl. I wouldn't be surprised to see the Chiefs make it there again and repeat as champion, but I'm going to go Bengals, Eagles. And I think that the Bengals will get their Super Bowl. Like you mentioned, Joe Burrow in his career is probably going to win one. And I wouldn't be surprised if it's this season. They're an incredibly complete team. They were a late hit away from making it potentially last year. So I'm going to take the Bengals over the Eagles to win the Super Bowl this season.
Well, that's how like the great thing, and this is why we all love the NFL, because there are so many times you look over. I mean, the Bengals almost beat the Rams. The Chiefs almost lost to the 49ers. The Super Bowl last year could have gone 1,000 different directions. It was a wild game where players are slipping around and there's calls involved and like all this stuff. So it's this year does feel to me, Tommy, though, like there are more teams in the mix, because sometimes I think in the NFL we say, okay, who has a real chance to win a Super Bowl? But then the Eagles surprised it. Like, did anybody think the Eagles were going to do that last year? So, like, that's what I'm the most curious about this year. Like, who's that team we're not thinking about that's that team this year, right? Like, at some point, the Bengals had to surprise the world. At some point, the Chiefs had to surprise the world. At some point, the Bills. Is it the Jaguars? Like, does Trevor Lawrence take that next step? Maybe. I don't know. But it will be fun. I cannot wait for the NFL season. It all gets going tomorrow. You'll hear the Chiefs, of course, over on KNSS. Looking forward to fun. Okay.
I do have one more thing real quick before we wrap up. I do have a pick for an MVP, and I know that we were looking at like individual awards also potentially. My pick for MVP this season is Aaron Rodgers. I think Aaron Rodgers wins another MVP with the Jets. Like I mentioned before, he's got kind of this new bounce in his step a little bit, going over to New York and is a little bit more revitalized. I think with this new change of scenery that he's got, I don't think the Jets make it to the Super Bowl. I think they, obviously win the division and make the playoffs. That's my pick. But I'm going to pick Aaron Rodgers to be the MVP this season.
I'm going to let Aaron Rodgers MVP pick be a little bit of a tease here. let's do some more awards. I want to do MVP. I want to do Defensive Player of the Year.
Okay.
I want to do Rookie of the Year.
Okay.
So let's cram that into the next segment. I like the Rodgers pick. I think that's a bet. That's a good bet to make, by the way, because of the storyline thing. I've said that before. Like, storylines matter for MVP voting sometimes, and so I like that as a bet. It's not my pick, though. Maybe a boring pick again. We'll come back. We'll talk about our individual awards as we finish previewing the NFL season. Let's see. We can, on the way out, let's do this, Jed. Let's give away some WinSurge vouchers as our last giveaway today to the IHOP hotline. Of course, the IHOP hotline brought to you by IHOP, and where guests can enjoy 4 new sweet and savory biscuit options. So 869-1240. First caller, get you some WinSurge vouchers as we're getting very close to the end of the WinSurge season. We'll do that. We'll come back. Individual awards on Sports Daily, 869-1240. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back, everybody. Congratulations to Benny for winning our Win Surge vouchers. Jacob Albracht, Tommy Castor here. It's this mistake of being in too many fantasy leagues is really staring at me in the face now, Tommy, because it's like, oh my God, I got to go set all these lineups and like this Travis Kelce thing. It's going to be a full-time job winning all that money in fantasy football and betting this year. I don't know how I'm going to keep up with it. One of my kids has a birthday party this coming Sunday, and it's like right in the middle of the afternoon, and it's really just like, what? We're gonna do what are we doing here? Oh, good. We'll see how that goes. It's gonna be, I'll be the dad on his phone just like trying to watch football the whole time.
Yeah, I know that when you get into all the multiple fantasy leagues and then betting, like I'm in a survivor pool, so I've got that going on too. Like there are so many different ways to consume the games. I've got YouTube TV for the first time, and so I'm trying to decide if I want to do Sunday Ticket or Red Zone or both of them. Like there's so many different options. It's going to be wild and crazy every single week.
You can, of course, listen to the Chiefs over on KNSS. Excited about that, Chiefs Radio Network. All right, let's get into some individual awards here, Tommy. You teased us with Aaron Rodgers as your MVP, so we'll start with MVP. I really struggle with this because there's a lot of players I wanted to put here. I think that, if I'm looking for the non-favorite, I would go Justin Herbert because I'm just sort of in on that offense this year. And I think there is a storyline that exists that you could also tie with just some gaudy numbers for Herbert, and that's that they win the division. And in that scenario, I think you could see him winning an MVP. However, I don't think they're going to win the division as much as I love Herbert this year. I think the Chiefs are. And because of what I've been like, it's just this gut feel that they're going to do something offensively this year and continue to spread the ball around, do all these things. I think Mahomes is going to have the most attempts he's ever had. And for that reason, I think his numbers are going to be big enough that the not as exciting storyline angle, right? Like the Chiefs will win the division, they'll do these things, and he'll just have such gaudy numbers this year that I'll go ahead and take Mahomes as my MVP. Don't love it, not good enough odds for me to bet it because he's the favorite or anything like that. But that's what I'll pick just because I've had this feeling on that offense for a little while. Again, we'll of course have to see with Kelce. If it's not the obvious, I think I would go Herbert. I do think Aaron Rodgers is a good bet because he presents a really nice storyline to the award. Guys like Jalen Hurts, when they run, present a little bit too much of an injury risk for me to want to bet that. But he could obviously get it, certainly, if he stayed healthy. He probably would have got it last year if he didn't get hurt. So there are plenty of options. Any non-quarterbacks you think have any shot at this thing this year? Tyreek Hill said he's going to catch for 2,000 yards. I mean, I think that would enter him into the conversation. Outside of that, I probably would say no.
I mean, Justin Jefferson is probably on the radar, depending on what kind of year he has to be considered for that. Christian McCaffrey, I feel like
Christian McCaffrey would be interesting.
for the first time in a while, I feel like there's not a ton of conversation about Christian McCaffrey. And I don't know if it's because he's settled into the new role with the 49ers or not. So that could be a good pick as a non-quarterback. Probably those two and maybe Tyreek would be about the only ones that I would consider potentially as a non-quarterback representative for an MVP.
All right, let's go to Rookie of the Year. This one I also struggled with because I really wanted to say Jordan Addison, but the opportunity is too large for Bijan Robinson to me to not go Bijan Robinson. I just think that, I think Gibbs might be interesting, but again, Gibbs is going to share it more, I think, than Bijan Robinson will have to share it. If the Falcons, they may not even want to, but if Bijan Robinson's the kind of player we all think he is, because we all liked him coming out of Texas, right? Then I just think it's going to like naturally lend itself to him being that. I like Jordan Addison to have a chance because I think the Vikings offense is going to be really, really good. And I think that he's going to end up being their second option. I don't think it's Hawkinson. I think it's Addison. So I almost went Addison, but I'm gonna make the safe, boring play here again with Bijan Robinson.
Honestly, I'm going to go quarterback, and I'm going to go Anthony Richardson as my Rookie of the Year.
Yeah, he might be the betting favorite.
I've said it before that, I feel like he's got the opportunity to be the most successful in his rookie year out of the three rookie quarterbacks beyond Bryce Young and CJ Stroud. I think the Colts are going to have to lean on Richardson a lot, lean on his legs a lot. He may not be a great thrower this season, but he's going to be that dual threat guy. And really, it doesn't look like Jonathan Taylor, he's going to be out at least for a while. And then when he does come back, is he going to play for the Colts? I have no idea. So really the only given offensively for the Colts is Anthony Richardson. If he can stay healthy, I think he's going to put up the numbers to be the Rookie of the Year. That's kind of my guess. I like the Bijan Robinson pick. I mean, they're going to put the world on his shoulders in Atlanta as the future, of that franchise offensively. I think it's going to be Richardson.
Richardson might be a safer pick than Bijan because they do have Algier there. And the Colts really don't have a choice but to let Richardson run wild. And I don't know that I think Richardson's going to be better than Stroud or Young. I don't think, I don't know, honestly.
And maybe not long term. I mean, I think that Bryce Young,
but he's going to have the most opportunity this year.
I think that both of them have the potential to be a better long-term quarterback than Anthony Richardson. I just think in year one, because of what the Colts are going to be expecting of Richardson, I think he's going to put up the numbers to be the Rookie of the Year this year.
All right, Defensive Player of the Year. This is an interesting one. I don't even know who the betting favorite is. I haven't looked at this. I think, it's kind of based on what we were talking about with the Cowboys earlier. I'm going to go Micah Parsons. Like we've sort of waited for him to take that next step. And again, if the Cowboys want to do anything, he's going to have to do it. So I'll go Parsons. TJ Watt's recent injury history gives me a little bit of pause, but he is back healthy. But I'll give the slight nod to Micah Parsons.
Honestly, that's the one area that you and I have the same pick. I picked Micah Parsons as well.
One thing in all the predictions we've done, yeah.
And the reason for that, you mentioned TJ Watt and the injury. Also, look at Nick Bosa, who's holding out due to a contract issue. So you've got Nick Bosa, and then, I don't think Chris Jones was probably going to be, necessarily considered as a favorite to win the Defensive Player of the Year. But both of those guys, Jones and Bosa, are holding out.
Yeah.
And so who knows how long that's going to take for both of them. I think Micah Parsons is the safe pick and probably will end up being the Defensive Player of the Year.
Well, and the hard thing is, like, defensive backs, you got to lean too much on interceptions, which are so unpredictable, right? And it's not the true indicator. Sacks are the easiest thing to quantify defensively. Micah Parsons has, and I agree with you. I will say, if Chris Jones were to play all the games in a contract year, I'd like his chances, but not if he misses games. I mean, that's the big thing is you got to pile up the sacks. So we're in agreement there. Finally, on the last thing that we picked, we found something that we are on the same page with. We were on the same page with a lot of our division winners and things like that. That's it. The NFL season is here. We've got Chiefs tomorrow night. I cannot believe it. I cannot wait for it. Let's go. Let's get to this thing. Let's get it rolling so that we can all just like overreact every second of everything that happens in the NFL. Of course, we'll keep you apprised of Travis Kelce news as it comes in, probably all the way up until game time tomorrow. Like, I don't think anything's coming out today where we're like, oh, that tells us one way or the other. They're going to list him as questionable or they're going to list him as doubtful, and we'll just have to see. But it'll be one of those things before the game. It's like, is Travis Kelce out there running routes or is he in street clothes? And that's probably when we're going to find that. But, man, it's the Lions. Here we go. We'll talk to Chelsea Messenger tomorrow from all the betting angles. I'm curious to know what she thinks about that line going down so much to 4.5. We'll have that for you tomorrow. We'll come back. We'll tell you what's on tap the rest of the day here on the network as we wrap up a Tuesday. What day is it? Wednesday edition of Sports Daily.
Wichita's most listened to sports radio, 97.5 and 1240 KFH.
All right, that's it for us, everybody. That's it for an NFL preview show. We snuck that in there. Coming up tomorrow, we'll have Chelsea Messenger to talk about the first week of NFL betting. Cannot wait for that. Also, some college football action. We'll have our buddy Tim Fitzgerald in to talk about the Cats as they look ahead to the next one. We'll also look back a little bit with Tim on that one. Jim Rome at 11 today follows us. Bob and Jeff locally from 2 to 4. Royals, White Sox. You heard about that crazy inning yesterday. You get them again tonight. Coverage begins at 6:30 right here on KFH. Tommy, enjoy the last time we say goodbye with. Well, no, I guess we'll have to do it again tomorrow, but we'll have football soon enough.
Well, it's like Christmas Eve, like getting ready to open up those gifts. I can't wait.
So excited. All right. For Chad Chambers, Tommy Castor, I'm Jacob Albracht. We'll see you tomorrow.
Sports, later news, and great comedy with Bob and Tom Morning.